Hello, everyone. This is Renee Rentmeester. I'm the creator and executive producer of the Cooking Without Looking TV show and podcast. And today I'm here with Juan Medina, and we're going to answer all of your questions and Juan will have the answers. So Juan, take it away. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I think I noticed you first online on our chat, our Cooking Without Looking chat, because you said you wanted to break stereotypes of blindness, and I'm like, yes, that's exactly what we do. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I found your group through another group that I'm in called the Hadley Support Group, and they do just that. They help people um that are blind and visually impaired be more independent. And that's what I like to do. I like helping people who are blind and low vision, especially if they lost their vision. And it's great. I'm also a mentor for people who are blind and visually impaired, and I like that as well. And yeah, that's pretty much about me. I've been blind all my life. I was born premature, so I
Mhm.
was born 3 months early, and I'm originally from Chicago. Now live in Houston for the last 7 years. Gonna be 8 or so years in December, and I have a wonderful family. They all stay here in Houston. Well, and yeah, I'm very happy for that.
Well,
And they're not blind. They're sighted. I'm the oldest, and it's me, my sister Crystal, my brother Jose, and my brother Joel. So and my mom. And yeah.
oh, well, that's great. Well, as you said, you wanted to change, you wanted to basically, change the way people think about blindness, or in your words, you want to break some blind stereotypes. So which stereotypes would you like to break?
I like to make a lot of stereotypes, like for example, cooking one of them, and then also like transportation too, because I know sometimes when you meet people, people be like, oh well, how are you gonna get around if you can't drive, or does someone drive you everywhere? And yeah, you can do that, but then you gotta pay them. And then so I always tell people, like, we take Uber and we take Lyft, and we take Metro Lyft, which is the paratransit service here in Houston, and we try to be as independent as we possibly can. I mean, yeah, if we need a person to drive us for some weird reason, then yeah, we'll do that. But we try to be as independent as we can.
Well, what other stereotypes, Juan? You said it was stereotypes about cooking. I know I get people, and you know what? It just happened the other day on our on our Cooking Without Looking Facebook page. Someone said, "Well," and they're a deaf person, and they said, "Well, I didn't realize blind people cook." And my usual answer is, "Well, blind people eat too." So,
Yeah,
what
true.
stereotype you want to break about blindness and cooking?
I'd like to break the, like, for example, our cutting skills. I feel that not everybody has the greatest cutting skills in the world, and I think sometimes people think that when you cook, especially with cutting, it has to be like the perfect cut and the perfect like slices and dice and all that stuff. And not everybody has that capability. And I'm one of those. For example, onions. I don't really know. I try to cut the onions as I can. Like I try, but I don't know if it comes out like it's supposed to. Probably not, because like the little strips, and then whenever I do it, it's all like still kind of big pieces in the round, kind of oval shape, and the way they feel. And I'm like, forget it. I tried so many years. I try. I know how to do bananas. That's like easy. Like, and apples. Well, I don't know how to do. I don't like apples, so I don't do that either. But it's just little things like that. And so I feel like, well, if you can get them pre-cut or packaged already, why not do it like that? But I think still, I think you try your best to cut stuff the way you think it should be cut. And I know sometimes people get kind of, not everybody, but I know sometimes people get kind of judgy sometimes, especially in the blind community. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. I'm just being honest.
Right.
That's what I've noticed because I have been blind all my life, and I have met other people, and sometimes they don't have some of the skills that I do, or I might not have skills that they do and stuff. And that's one thing you get to realize about interacting with other people who are blind is not everybody's the same. Because and that's another thing. People will say, "Oh, well, if you can do this, if he can do this, you can do this," or whatever it is, whether it's mobility, whether it's cooking, whether it's living independently. Not everybody has that capability, and that's what I want to stress is, and people don't understand is just because you're blind or low vision doesn't mean you're like everybody else.
Right, it's not like a monolith, it's just like,
Yeah.
it's in a way, it's just like everyone else because whether you're sighted or you're blind or whatever, you're not going to be like everyone else. And you know what? I'm not the perfect cutter of onions as well. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I don't have my protractor out and making sure everything is exactly the same. And you know what? Your stomach really doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Because like I said, sometimes when I cut onions, it's in bigger pieces, or sometimes it's still like slices, and sometimes it's not like the little, like when you get a burger, it's like the little tiny strips like that. Like I don't know how to do that. I know it's in the onion. I know you can because you can feel the little strips, but I don't know how to individually take that out. Like I can't. I tried.
Well, you know what? There was an interesting way, like even right when we began the show, that I use this skill. Someone taught me or the audience that if you cut the onion, you take the onion because that little roly-poly onion, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So you take that onion, you cut it in half, and you lay it down on your cutting board, and you hold it with your fist. You're like, I don't know if you're left or handed, right-handed.
I'm
Um,
right-handed.
okay, so then you hold it with your left fist, that little half that's not rolling anymore,
Right.
and you just slice right through with your right hand. And it doesn't roll. Now you have some slices that look nice on your burger. And then you take
Right.
those slices, and if you want smaller little pieces, you take the slices and then you cut them each up as well, however, whatever works best for you. That's what I always say.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's very easy and it's not judgmental. And I use that, and I'm not blind, but I use that method because it's like, well, this is common sense. You just cut it in half, and it doesn't roll anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So so what other stereotypes do they have of blind people that you want to get rid of?
Ooh, there's a lot.
Next.
Oh, I know. I know jobs example.
Okay.
I had to think for a second. I think another one that's very common as well is jobs. I feel that uh they say it's very easy for us to get jobs, and it's really not. Or they think that we don't need accommodations or very limited accommodations, and sometimes you may start off with one accommodation, but then you have to you know incorporate another accommodation. For example, like if you're in an office and you have a computer using JAWS, which is the software for blind people for the computer, you may need something else like a braille display, which is, think of it like a screen, like a computer screen, but you can use your fingers. For those that don't know what a braille display is, and you might need that because you feel like you can concentrate more with a braille display and a JAWS system versus just a JAWS. So it's sometimes you have to incorporate more uh what's the word? More stuff like that.
Or
Just
equipment.
accommodations. Yeah, more
More
equipment. So, and then sometimes some jobs might think that, oh, if I have to accommodate all this equipment, I'm gonna pay thousands of dollars and blah blah blah. And sometimes you don't even have to do that. Sometimes the state can do that for you, and a lot of
They
jobs
get
don't
a tax
understand.
write-off. They get a
Yeah,
tax write-off. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of jobs don't know that. Some do, some don't. But I think that's another stereotype I don't want to break and educate companies that, hey, just because you hire someone with a disability doesn't mean you're gonna pay all these thousands of dollars or whatever. And there's different ways to go about that. And I just think that companies just have to be a little more educated, especially with people with disabilities.
Well, also, has it made it any easier that there's uh, the way things are right now, especially after the pandemic, a lot of jobs, a lot of good jobs, and if it's technology, you do it right out of your home. So all of the things they worry about, like,
Yeah,
transportation and everything, they don't have to worry about because you're right there and they know where you are and they have your work.
exactly. That's true. The remote jobs now, and that's what's really cool about having remote jobs too, because you get to work from home. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that, and companies, as you say, need to realize that if you need some special equipment, you can get that from the blind, whatever blind services, like, in Florida, where I was, it's like Florida Division of Blind Services.
Oh
And
yeah.
they will get, if you have a job, they will get the equipment for you, whatever you need for that job. So it doesn't, rest upon the employer. And on top of that, as we just mentioned, they get tax write-offs, a good $3,000 at one point, and maybe it's more by now.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and all the companies have to do is do their research, or just if they know someone who's blind or have a disability in general, just reach out to them and be like, hey, we're hiring a new person and they have a disability. What can I wish companies thought like that, but they don't. Not all of them do. So
Well, no, and they don't necessarily, because they don't see blind people, which is what we were just talking about before we started recording. That's our purpose. Our motto is changing the way we see blindness, and there are plenty of lighthouses and different organizations that help people learn how to live, as a blind person or a vision impaired person, but nobody sees that. So if you put people on TV, if you put them on a podcast, get them out there, get people
yeah,
to see you, then they start to understand and they'll stop asking, well, do blind people cook? You
yeah. And I think another stereotype too, and it's I think is and I think it's blindness, but I think it's also in general. I think volunteering, for example, I think people see that as like, oh, that's not a real job, or stuff like that. And the reason why I say that is because I do so much. Me personally, I do so much for the blind community. Like I said before, I'm a mentor for blind and visually impaired. That I just kind of started that on my own, and I do that voluntarily. I also volunteer my time a lot with the ACB, American Council of the Blind, with their community calls that they have. I'm a Zoom facilitator for them,
Ah, yes.
and yeah, and I love that. And that's a lot of volunteering. And sometimes you'll be surprised, volunteering can get you in the door to a job. And that's why I brought that up, because people think, oh, you volunteer all this time, you're not gonna get a job. And sometimes you'll be surprised. I have heard stories where people volunteer and then all of a sudden they like what they do, and then all of a sudden they get hired unexpectedly. Because I've been doing this for the last 3 years with the ACB stuff, but since 2021. Before it was just monthly stuff, and then now it's every week. And then I like it. I like doing that, and it's fun.
Well, volunteering is experience. It doesn't matter, if you get
Yeah.
paid or not for it. I mean, it does when you get to the grocery store, but, it's all experience, and that's how you would couch it to a possible employer, that is experience. You're doing it, nobody else
Yeah.
is doing it. You're doing it. What exactly do you do with the ACB? What is your volunteer position? What are you doing?
Zoom. Well, my title with them is Zoom facilitator. So I do different calls, talking about blindness stuff for like, so for example, like I like the other day I did what's called the blind spot, and it's a call that me and my girlfriend Alicia, who's also blind, we do together, and we talk about blindness specific topics such as like um restaurant going to a restaurant as a blind person, and or different hacks that we have for daily living, so like using sugar cubes instead of the regular sugar, or
Oh,
just different blindness topics. And then also I do a weekly call with different topics. Example, I did for Google versus Alexa, and which one's better for the blind and visually impaired, which ones did the people like better versus the other. I did one about what is it, the AI, now that we're coming up with all this AI stuff, what people think about
yeah.
it. So I do different stuff like that with different topics. Like next week I'm gonna do one about growing up blind, growing up as a blind person all your life, basically. So I'm
Wow.
gonna talk to I'm gonna have people talk about different their experiences growing up, with being blind, and how that was to them, and what things they went through growing up blind.
How was
And
it for you growing up blind, one?
I liked it. I'm the only one that's blind, and my mom and dad always tried to include me in everything that they did, even if it was adapting it differently. I'll give you a story. The story is that, so when we were little, we would go on bikes and stuff. And my brothers and me and my mom and dad, it was nice. And then my mom would put like a little like piece of like a balloon rubber thing on the tires, so I can follow the sound. So that way I could follow where they were
Oh,
going. And there's an example. So my mom and dad always tried to incorporate me in activities, and or if it was a visual thing, my mom would try to describe as best she could. And so I've always been included in stuff. I mean, not like football, like, just obviously there are some stuff that I can't get into, but because it's too visual. But most of the stuff, they try their best.
well, that's really nice. It sounds like you had like a good set of parents, open-minded and
Yeah, they were always open-minded, and still are to this day. And my mom always says, to don't let one thing, and it always resonates with me. My mom always says, don't let your disability get in the way. Just, you can do it just in a different way. So it's always resonated with me, and it always helps. It always works. And thanks to my parents and my family, I am where I am today.
you have a really positive attitude, it sounds like.
Yeah, I do. And I always try to be positive, and I always try, and that's why I do it with the stuff with the ACB too, because it's all positive stuff. And I feel like there's always someone new joining that group. I think we have over 4,000 followers on their group. I believe it is. Last time I
Wow.
checked. Yeah, before it was 2,000, but I think it's about more than that now, because there's always someone new joining their group. And I'm always, as a matter of fact, I posted that I was coming on here to them last yesterday, so that they can know more about your show. So I always try to promote too. So hopefully you get more clientele.
Oh, well, that's great. No, we really appreciate it. That's the thing. And even on our on our Facebook group, the Cooking Without Looking TV show group, I'm very open to having people promote their businesses, their organizations,
I
tell us
saw
what
that.
they're doing. Because something happened with us where I always post our shows or our podcasts right after I do them, right, to all the
R-
other groups.
Right.
It's not to promote it at all. It's like, well, here's another person who's blind and they're telling their story, and maybe we can gather something from it. Even sighted people can gather stuff from it too. We're all human, right? This is
Yeah.
a lot different. You can't see, I can see, but it doesn't really matter because we're both human. And he thought that I was like trying to promote the show, and it's like,
No.
no. It's like educational, and I call it edutainment because it's sort of entertaining, and everybody on the show is blind. It's not to push anything, and I go, we're not even monetized, and he made a big deal about me posting, like, you know what, I don't need this, and so I just left the group. But then that's when I went to our group and said, listen, if you have a business, great. We're here to promote people who are blind. We're here to
Exactly.
promote what you're doing. We're here to promote you as a person so that the world can see you as a person. And
Yeah, exactly.
and so that's, if you saw that post, that came directly from someone making a big deal, and it's like,
Oh,
no,
I didn't know. I never knew that part, but I saw the post where you said about if you have businesses and stuff. I saw that one.
yeah, we want to promote you, and if
Yeah.
an
And that's why
organization.
and that's why I like that's why I wanted to be on this podcast too, because I'm like, well, you never know where it can take you. So, you never
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Someone can find it or something and want you to promote their stuff where, you never know where it can take you, a podcast these days.
Well, yeah, a lot of things happen. People reach out to me. I've been on a lot of podcasts. They do a lot of newspaper articles and stuff with us. And it's wonderful because we share with everyone. And the more you listen, the more you learn, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, my background is advertising and marketing in CBS,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, and I see nothing wrong with marketing your business, especially if you're blind or visually impaired.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I promote. I went on ACB's group and I told them about you guys, and because I don't think they know too much about you guys either. So I don't think that I know
Oh, we
of. So
used to
that's
be
why.
on there. We used to be on the ACB groups.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
You
okay.
would tape with them, but it got a little, we just, it just,
Oh,
yeah, it was just different. So then we ended up just going on our own, but we always share with all the groups, with all
yeah, okay.
ACB, NFB, um, A, what's the other one?
AFB.
AFB, yeah, all the groups. We're like Switzerland. We're not one group or the other. We promote everyone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and so yeah, that's what I do. I just go to different groups and obviously, the blindness groups and try to promote. And it seems to work, so
it really does. It really does. And we learn from one another, and we learn that we're more alike than we are different.
Exactly.
So now we've come to the part where you get to share your recipe, Juan. And I know you were a little hesitant because you thought maybe I wanted some fancy schmancy recipe, right?
I was a little hesitant because I didn't know if you had to actually cook the thing in front of the phone, and I don't know how you do that, and
No, no, this is just a podcast. Even if, the other one is fine too, the TV show one, but you, tell us how you make your wonderful egg salad.
Okay, so when I have done it, I just call it the basic egg salad. So it's just very common, very basic. So what you do is you boil the eggs. If you don't if you don't trust boiling eggs, you can just get the prepackaged boiled eggs already from the store. I found that out recently, a couple months ago. I didn't even know they existed. um,
Yeah, and they're
I,
peeled and everything.
yeah, they're peeling everything. You don't have to worry. You just break it in pieces for it to go into the bowl, like bite-sized pieces. That's what I do. I don't cut the eggs. I just break them with my fingers, like shred them. I think it's kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, you get into it.
Yeah, you just shred the. Well, yeah, you just break it with your fingers if you want to, or you can cut them. Doesn't matter. Um, and then I just put mayonnaise, but I use like I don't use I use the like like the teaspoon, not the tablespoons like that you
Yeah,
use
the
for the
teaspoon, they're
like a
teaspoons.
teaspoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I use a teaspoon of mayonnaise. Sometimes I'll use a tablespoon just because I like more mayonnaise, but
Yeah.
it's between a tablespoon and a teaspoon, whatever you want. And then I just put onions. It could be the pre-cut onions or just cut them up. And then a little bit of black pepper. And then sometimes I'll put cheese in it just to add some cheese. I don't know, I love cheese. So I just add cheese to the
Did you say cheese or peas?
no cheese, like cheese.
Ah, oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, like cheese, like shredded cheese.
Oh, that's a great idea. Like, what do you use? A cheddar or
It doesn't really matter. I just get
pepper
shredded
jack?
cheese.
Pepper
I
jack?
just yeah, it doesn't. Well, I don't really. There's not. It doesn't really matter the shredded cheese you use. I just use shredded cheese. I just use whatever's there. If it's pepper jack or mozzarella, it doesn't really matter. That's one thing about me is like I don't really because some people are so specific. Like it has to be shredded cheese or it has to be sliced cheese or it has to be pepper jack or you know what I mean?
You
And
don't
with
need
this
those
one,
people in your life.
yeah. I like all kinds of cheese, so it doesn't matter to me. And then a little bit of black pepper, and then you're done.
Oh, wow. That actually sounds really good. And you know what? Your recipe was recipe of the day yesterday. So for those of you who want to try Juan's egg salad recipe, just go to our website at www.cookingwithoutlookingtv.wordpress.com. We're under the blog and Juan Medina's I think it was excellent egg salad. Will be there and you'll get to see it. You get to make the same salad that Juan makes.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, Juan, as we close up today, what kind of philosophy do you have for all of us to learn?
I think the philosophy that I have is to just try to be as independent as you possibly can. Just do it the way you think you see fit. Everybody does things differently, especially when you're blind and visually impaired. Everybody does things very differently. Not everybody's the same. And if people try to put you down or try to tell you to do something like another person that's blind, don't listen to them. Don't let it get to you. Just try to do it the way you see fit because sometimes the way you see fit, it helps you out. It might help other people out as well.
Well, that sounds great. Humans aren't a cookie cutter. We're all very
Yeah,
different.
we're
We're
all very
very different with
different.
this in the same in the very biggest of ways, but different in the tiny ways.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what I want people to take away from this podcast is because you get that a lot. Like I said, especially with traveling skills and mobility, I feel like they like, oh, you should be like this person, or if this person can travel on the bus, you can. And not everybody has that same level. And I can't stress that enough. And I think that's where people have to, at least I'll try to understand.
Right, right. It's not really that hard. Now, if people
Yeah.
want to reach out to you, Juan, how do they reach you?
Yeah, they can reach me. They could reach me on my ACB email. Because because I have an ACB email with ACB. The email is ACB and then blindspot BLINDSPOT@gmail.com.
Okay, that sounds great. And if you guys all again want to hear this podcast, we're available anywhere you get your podcasts. And you can find us on any Alexa-enabled device and anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Google, anywhere. So, and remember, thank you so much, Juan, for helping us change the way we see blindness. Have a wonderful day.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.